Speaking of Leonard Hamilton, if you've coached as long as he's coached and you've had the success that he's had, you have to have some pretty good assistants. And one of them now joins us on Stuff as we go to the West Coast to bring in USC head coach Andy Enfield. And Andy, we'll start there. You were an assistant under Leonard Hamilton for a long time at Florida State. What's the biggest things that you took from Coach Hamilton that you now apply at USC?
Well, Coach Hamilton's a Hall of Fame coach. He's one of the nicest men I've ever been around, and he runs a great program. And that's what I learned, how to run a basketball program at the Division I high major level. And he does it better than anybody I've ever seen. So congratulations to Coach Hamilton, Florida State. They've had just an unbelievable run here the last decade, and I was fortunate enough to spend 5 years in Tallahassee with him.
Well, now, Andy, obviously you're going to learn things from Leonard Hamilton and apply them to USC, but history has shown that you're pretty intelligent in your own right. A lot of people may not know this, but Andy Enfield was his high school valedictorian. All these years later, where does that rank on your mantle of accomplishments?
Well, high school was so long ago, I forgot about that, but I appreciate you reminding me. Those are good old days from Shippensburg, Pennsylvania. But we're so focused right now during the season, you kind of lose track of what happened in the past. And right now our focus is our next game tomorrow night.
Well, and obviously your focus is only going to intensify when you win 17 of your first 20 games. What do you think are the biggest reasons behind such a strong start for USC this season?
We lost 80% of our scoring and rebounding last year. We had a very good team last year. We were 22-9, playing great basketball at the end before the pandemic shut us down. But our assistant coaches had to revamp the entire roster. We only had 3 returnees. So to bring in 3 graduate transfers, 2 undergraduate transfers, 2 freshmen, we had a whole new team. And I give our players a lot of credit, our assistant coaches a ton of credit for just acclimating everybody together and buying into the team concept. Our defense has been outstanding all season, and our offense is getting there. So it's really been a true team this year. And whenever we defend at the level that we have been, we have a chance to win every game we play.
You know, Andy, you mentioned obviously the fact that you brought in so many transfers. You know, this in a lot of ways feels like where college basketball is going in terms of recalibrating rosters. I'm curious, when did you make the decision in the offseason last year that that's how you're going to retool this roster?
We had no choice, John. We had a few players left our program. They transferred out. So we had held spots for them to come back. And then when they left, we had no choice. We had to revamp our whole roster. So it became a necessity. We had to go, and we were very fortunate. We were able to recruit in the pandemic, and the players that we signed in the spring had never even been to USC on campus, and we had never met them in person. So the Zoom calls, my wife told me to buy Zoom stock, and like an idiot, I didn't, because the Zoom calls really helped us recruit nationally.
Well, and it's interesting to me, you know, I know you've had so many guys plug the holes for you as transfers, but Taj Edey hasn't really just plugged holes. He has been a revelation, a grad transfer from Santa Clara. And I've studied this closely. Very rarely do players who put up certain numbers in a mid-major conference replicate the same type of output when they go to a power conference. Taj Edey has superseded what he did last year at Santa Clara, now at USC. How has he done that?
Taj Edey's just a terrific basketball player. He had 29 points on Saturday at Washington State, helped us win that game. And he's been so solid all season. He's got a very good assist-to-turnover ratio. He scores it when he has to, and he doesn't get sped up. He's just been a terrific offense player, but his defense has improved dramatically as well. So we would not be 17-3 without Taj Edey.
Well, we've spent some time on the transfers. I think it's time now to pay attention to, obviously, some of the other players that you brought in traditionally. And we start with Evan Mobley, who has already established himself as not just one of the best freshmen in the country, but one of the best players in the country. You've had so many great post players during your time at USC, Onyeka Okongwu and Chimezie Metu. How does Evan Mobley compare to those guys who preceded him?
They're all different, John. Each one of them are NBA players. Chimezie plays for the Kings. Onyeka obviously was a 6th pick in the draft last year for Atlanta Hawks. And Evan will be a high pick this year. But they're all different. They're all talented. But they have a lot of similarities. They're very hard workers, and they have no ego. Evan Mobley's all about winning games. He doesn't care about scoring points. He's a terrific, unselfish passer, and he's a great defender right now. He's really improved in that area. So the Evan Mobley, he has become a go-to guy on our offense. We can isolate him in certain situations, and he's learned quickly how to beat double teams and also when to pass out of double teams at the right time. So he went through a huge learning curve quickly because he was the focal point of our offense and the focal point of our defenses. And now that they scout him, he's done a great job adjusting to the physicality and the scouting reports of the opposing teams.
And a lot of the times, Andy, the guy that he's passing to when he goes out of the double team is his brother Isaiah, who probably doesn't get the attention that he deserves, but is a very good player in the Pac-12. How would you describe the chemistry between those two on both sides of the floor up front?
They have great chemistry on and off the court. Isaiah is our best defender, our best big man defender, and that says a lot because he can switch out on guards. He can guard bigger guys, and to have Isaiah guarding people and then Evan there for the shot block has really helped our team defense. On offense, they pass the ball extremely well together, but they also pass the ball to everybody. Isaiah is just as unselfish as his brother Evan. So when you have two unselfish, skilled bigs, it really helps on the offensive end.
Andy, I look at your league and your conference, and we've had many talks about this. The Pac-12 has great players. It's got great coaches. It's got unbelievable brands, but the league does not get the attention nor the respect that it deserves nationally. How does this conference continue to improve its standing in the eyes of the college basketball world?
Well, it's very difficult, John, because of the time difference. It's a 3-hour time difference for the East Coast. And like last year, we had 10 draft picks, NBA draft picks out of the 60 in the NBA draft. And some teams had multiple draft picks last year. We had one. So we continually put players in the NBA. I think we're second behind the ACC, and they have more teams in the conference than us over the last 15 years. So this league has outstanding basketball players, very good teams. And I think the time difference is the biggest thing, the amount of exposure. When I hear things like, well, Onyeka Kong or Evan Mobley, they're going unnoticed. Well, what does that mean? Because Evan Mobley is going to be a top high pick in the NBA draft.
Right. And
the fact that not enough people see him, maybe that's what they mean. But it's really frustrating at times. But at the same time, it is business. We have 7 or 8 p.m. game times out here that start at 10, 11 on the East Coast. Well, I can't expect someone to stay up until 1 in the morning to watch a college basketball game because I would have been in bed a long time ago. So I think a lot of it has to do with just the West Coast. I think if we were on the East Coast in the major time zone in the major markets, although Los Angeles is the biggest basketball market in the country, it's very difficult, I think, for a lot of the country to stay up late at night and watch our games.
Well, as an East Coaster who lives in New York, I can tell you that I've suffered from insomnia the past couple of years staying up to watch the Pac-12. But you're right. People have said, and you can relate to this because you lived in New York once, that the only clock that matters is the one in Grand Central Station. And about 8 years ago, when people were passing through Grand Central Station, they were picking up newspapers all over the country and reading about this young upstart coach at Florida Gulf Coast who led his team to the Sweet 16. That was before you took the USC job, and that was you. That was your breakthrough in this business. I'm curious, especially with the caliber of teams you had over the past couple of years at USC, how often does Andy Enfield, whether he's going for a run in Manhattan Beach or walking his dogs, think about going on another deep NCAA tournament run to the second weekend or beyond?
It's a goal of any team, especially our teams at USC. We've been to multiple NCAA tournaments here. We've had some excellent basketball players. Last year we had a great team, and we're cut short, didn't get that opportunity, so that really fueled some of the returnees to try to get back there and have a chance, and hopefully we will have a chance this year. But the NCAA tournament it's a one game and you're done, so you have to win and move on, or you lose or go home. So it's the most exciting time of the year, and our players want to be a part of that this year, and hopefully if we can finish strong, we'll have that chance.
You came very close to getting to the second weekend a couple of years ago when you lost to Baylor. You're in position right now to earn a very high seed in the NCAA tournament. From your perspective, what are the biggest keys over the next 3 or 4 weeks to improve on so USC can be in position to again be a team that's a high seed and make a run in the NCAA tournament?
Well, first we have to defend at the level we're defending at it, and we have to keep that intensity every game. We understand our league is very good this year, and any team can beat us. And then once we get into postseason, once we get into postseason, one game can make it. One game, if you don't defend at that level, you could be out. So that we hang our hat on defense right now, and then offense, we have to be able to make shots. The 3 losses we've had, our offense bogged down. we were without our starting point guard, Ethan Anderson. Early in the year, he missed 6 weeks, and that really hurt us offensively, but now he's back, and we're playing at a much better level offensively.
No, you definitely are. And Andy, the one thing I've always enjoyed about visiting with you is you can talk basketball, but you can also talk life and culture. And I know that before you went into basketball full time, you lived in New York. You worked obviously in the information technology world. You always reference a place in California, Valentino's, that you go to when you need a good slice. I'm curious though, if you could get a slice there or a slice at your favorite haunt on the Upper West Side, what would you buy it for?
Well, that's a tough call. I saw your opening to your show, and it looked some very good food. It actually made me hungry. And New York has the best pizza, but I have to give the nod to Valentino's Pizza in Manhattan Beach. They have New York-style pizza, just outstanding. Just had it last night, actually, John.
How many slices do you go for in a sitting?
I usually eat 2 or 3, depending on if I work out in the morning, I'll eat 3. If I don't, usually 2.
Self-restraint, that's why you're so skinny. All right, final thing. We touched on pizza. We touched on the Pac-12 and your basketball team. But as you can tell, food is a big part of this show. If Andy Enfield could have one meal, one place, what would it be? Where would it be?
Well, pizza's always been my favorite, so I'm going to stick with Valentino's Pizza right here at home.
Okay, all right. Simplicity sometimes is the key to life. Well, Andy, we appreciate a couple minutes. Congratulations on an outstanding start and look forward to staying connected with you along the way.